flashing red and blue lights painted my driveway like a bad nightclub as I stood there holding an extension cord. My golf cart was plugged in, humming quietly, while Patricia Brennan, HOA president and part-time banshee, screamed at the arriving officers that I was hotwiring her brand new Mercedes. The fact that the Mercedes was in her own garage 3 houses down did not appear to slow her performance. She was pointing at my forest green golf cart like it might transform into a luxury sedan at any moment. Her voice hit octaves that made the neighborhood dogs howl in sympathy. My name is Thomas Garrett. I moved to the Pine Ridge Estate subdivision for 2 reasons, the golf course and the promise of peace. My golf cart is my pride and joy, street legal, forest green, and with more chrome than necessary. It has custom leather seats, a sound system that plays smooth jazz, and a cooler built into the back that keeps my beverages at the perfect temperature. I am the kind of guy who waves to neighbors and minds his own business. I keep my lawn at exactly 2.5 inches, never let my trash can sit out past noon on collection day, and always return borrowed tools in better condition than I received them. Unfortunately, that made me a prime target for Patricia, who views the HOA handbook as her personal weaponized scripture. Patricia first warned me that my golf cart was an unsanctioned motor vehicle. She appeared at my door one Saturday morning, clipboard in hand, informing me with a triumphant tone that vehicles with more than 2 wheels required special permits according to subsection 12.4 of the community guidelines. When I showed her the actual guidelines that specifically mentioned golf carts as approved vehicles, she sniffed and said she would be reviewing the matter with her committee. The very next week, she called an emergency HOA meeting specifically to discuss what she called the golf cart epidemic in our neighborhood. I attended out of curiosity and watched her present a 40-slide PowerPoint presentation about the dangers of unregulated golf cart usage. She had graphs showing fictional accident statistics, photos of golf carts from Google circled in red with words like menace and threat written underneath, and even a poorly photoshopped image of a golf cart on fire that she claimed could happen at any moment in our driveways. When our neighbor Harold pointed out that he had owned a golf cart for 15 years without incident, she dismissed him with a wave and said he had just been lucky so far. Then she sent me a letter claiming my charging cable was hazardous urban clutter when draped across my driveway. The letter arrived on official HOA letterhead with 3 different colors of highlighting and enough exclamation points to punctuate a teenage diary. She had actually taken photos of my charging setup from multiple angles and attached them to the letter with detailed annotations about potential trip hazards, electromagnetic field exposure, and something she called aesthetic pollution, that she claimed was lowering property values by 7%. When those failed to provoke me, she began spreading rumors that I was obsessively tinkering with stolen property. I heard from my neighbor Derek that Patricia had been telling people at the community pool that she had seen me switching license plates in the middle of the night. She had apparently created a whole narrative where I was part of an international golf cart theft ring, complete with connections to organized crime. Another neighbor, Sandra, informed me that Patricia was convinced I was running some kind of golf cart shop out of my garage. Patricia had even started a neighborhood watch specifically for golf cart-related crimes, sending out emails at 2 in the morning with subject lines like "Urgent Golf Cart Surveillance Update" and "Be aware of suspicious cart activity." She installed 3 security cameras pointed directly at my driveway, which I later learned she was reviewing for hours each night, taking notes on every time I touched my golf cart. She created a log that documented things like "subject adjusted mirror at 3:17 p.m. and "suspicious polishing activity observed for 12 minutes." She even recruited her husband, Gary, a mild-mannered accountant who clearly wanted no part in this, to sit in their car and observe my house during what she called peak criminal hours, which, according to her, was any time between sunset and sunrise. The final straw came when she started lurking behind hedges whenever I parked, as though she was waiting for a crime to happen. I would catch glimpses of her face peering through the boxwood bushes, her eyes narrowed in suspicion every time I so much as checked the tire pressure. She had purchased a pair of military-grade binoculars and a notebook specifically for surveillance. I once caught her army crawling across her lawn to get a better view of my garage. My other neighbor, Bill, told me she had offered him $50 to let her set up a surveillance post in his garden shed. Last Friday evening, I was topping off the charge before an early tea time. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the subdivision, and I had just finished washing the cart, making sure every bit of chrome sparkled. Out of nowhere, Patricia stormed up, phone already pressed to her ear, shrieking that she had finally caught me. Her voice carried such conviction that I actually looked around to see if I had accidentally committed some crime without noticing. She was wearing her official HOA president blazer, the one with her name embroidered in gold thread, and her face was the color of an overripe tomato. She screamed into the phone with a hysterical tone that there was a dangerous criminal stealing her brand new Mercedes right this very second. She gave my exact address, describing me as a suspicious male, approximately 6 feet tall, wearing khaki shorts and operating heavy machinery. 10 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled up, officers already wary after a 911 call reporting an armed man stealing a luxury vehicle. They approached with hands on their holsters, asking me to step away from the vehicle and keep my hands visible. My security cameras caught every word of her melodramatic monologue, including the part where she claimed I had threatened her with a tire iron that did not exist. The officers quickly saw the reality: no Mercedes, no theft, just a golf cart with a cup holder full of sweet tea and a pine tree air freshener hanging from the mirror. Officer Henderson, a tall man with graying temples, looked from me to the golf cart to Patricia, who was still insisting with an increasingly desperate tone that I had hidden the Mercedes somewhere. Officer Martinez, his younger partner, was already trying not to laugh as Patricia launched into a theory about how I had dismantled her car and disguised the parts as golf cart components. They reviewed my footage right there on my phone, Patricia babbling about hidden VIN numbers and special golf cart black markets that she had researched extensively on the internet. She actually told them, with complete seriousness, that there was an underground network of golf cart thieves who specialized in converting luxury vehicles into golf carts to avoid detection. When Officer Henderson asked her to point out exactly where her Mercedes was before this alleged theft, she gestured vaguely toward her house and said she had not actually seen it today but knew for certain it had been there yesterday. One officer calmly asked her if she knew filing a false police report was a criminal offense. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint right there on my freshly edged lawn. Turns out, Patricia had made 3 similar calls in the past year, once accusing a neighbor of stealing his own ladder when she saw him carrying it from his shed to his house, claiming no one would move a ladder at 7 p.m. unless they were up to something criminal, another time claiming a teenage babysitter was breaking into the house she was paid to watch, despite the girl having a key and written permission from the homeowners, and the third incident involved her reporting a suspicious van. That turned out to be a plumbing company hired by the HOA itself to fix a broken sprinkler line. The police handed her a summons for misuse of emergency services and explained, loudly and clearly, what a pattern of harassment meant. Half the cul-de-sac had gathered by this point, and everyone heard Officer Henderson inform her that she was looking at criminal charges. The next HOA meeting was the most attended in subdivision history. Over 200 residents packed into the community center, with more watching through the windows. Patricia sat at the board table, trying to maintain her authority, while the association lawyer explained why her actions had exposed the HOA to significant legal liability. When the vote came to remove her from the board, it was unanimous except for her own vote. She stood up, her voice shaking with rage, and declared that we would all regret this when property values plummeted without her leadership. Someone in the back actually laughed out loud. The criminal case proceeded swiftly. The prosecutor had security footage from multiple neighbors, 911 recordings, and testimony from 3 officers about her false reports. Patricia hired an expensive lawyer who tried to argue she had been suffering from stress-induced paranoia, but the judge was not sympathetic. She was convicted of making false emergency reports and harassment. The judge sentenced her to pay $5,000 in fines and serve 100 hours of community service. Patricia gasped so loudly when the sentence was read that the bailiff stepped forward, thinking she was having a medical emergency. Her face turned purple, and she actually stomped her foot like a child before her lawyer grabbed her arm and whispered urgently in her ear.